Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with a snuck-in episode of Monday Night War. This, of course, will be episode 13, following up on last week's episode about The Rock. I honestly thought with the debut of the Macho Man DVD, I thought maybe they were skipping this week because after Monday Night Raw, they ran the Macho Man special where they ran the first 15 minutes or so of the the Macho Man documentary. I thought there was going to be no Monday Night War episode this week debuting. I'm hoping that I didn't miss out on an episode of WWE Rivalries as well, but somehow this crossed my little screen when I logged on to my Apple TV. It was on the bottom for recommended viewing. Divas Gone Wild, the Monday Night War special. So I said, oh shoot, I got to get on that. So tonight was the first night that I was able to watch it, so I'm a little bit behind. But this was a good episode. I thought that it would be hard for them to stretch the history of WWE Divas into a whole hour-long special, but they gave a lot of spotlight onto the girls that really brought the Divas to the forefront of the WWE, how important they really were to the Monday Night Wars. Of course, all about Sunny and Sable. Jacqueline was a big part of that. They gave a good portion of the spotlight to Stephanie McMahon when she won the Divas Championship as a part of DX. Even though she really held that title for a long time and never really defended it or anything like that. It was great to see, Hunter being the WWF champion and her being the Divas champion as they were in control of the whole roster, basically because after Armageddon, they had forced Vince McMahon out of the WWE with him selling the sledgehammer shot, and it was just all gone from there. But, they traced all the way back to basically Vince McMahon. He had brought in women's wrestling basically as some sort of a little bit of an attraction. Come out, see Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man, the Fighting Women will be there, and just things like that that sort of add to sort of the fuel. You get to see these chicks going out there. I don't know. I just really watched Survivor Series 1987 as a way to get me really fired up for this year's Survivor Series. I really wanted to see Team Hulkamania going up against Team Andre, and as I started watching that show, the first match went about 25 minutes with the elimination rules, and after that they brought out the ladies for a 10 lady tag elimination match, and that match went forever to the point where it was like, well, I was fired up to see Hulkamania, but I'm going to put this up for tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed for the night because I can't deal with this anything. It just was the match just kept going and going, and this is back in the day when Vince would really let these ladies go out there and wrestle and really compete and show off what they can do. These days, if you think of last year's Survivor Series elimination match, I think there was 12 girls in there because they wanted to have all of Total Divas out there, JoJo, Eva Marie having their WWF debuts. They wanted them to be able to, be a part of the match, and I doubt the thing lasted 7 minutes. I haven't watched last year's Survivor Series since last year, but that's how long I can really picture that match going in my mind. It was just elimination, bam, 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 finisher. Let's get these girls in there and let's get them out of there. Divas are a big part of wrestling today. That seems to have them in every shape and size, every different kind of nationality. Any kind of girl you are into, they have that kind of girl there, so that way it's sort of like every guy that's watching this show has a girl that their eyes go to. I mean, when you talk about they're the best looking babes, there's a ton of AJ fans, there's a ton of Paige fans. I'm an Alicia Fox fan. Just about every diva has somebody out there who says like, oh, that's my girl. That's the best looking one out there, and Vince is very good at that. And they traced us all the way back to basically Sunny. Sunny was like the first. Well, I guess they gave some props to Miss Elizabeth as well, but she was just sort of like the Macho Man valet. As far as they went with her was at SummerSlam when she distracted Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase by pulling off her skirt, showing those granny panties that were in the Hulkamania yellow color. That Macho Man should have really figured out something was going on at that point. This distracted Andre and Ted DiBiase like they had never seen a woman before in their life, and Basically the Hulkamania was able to, or I guess the Mega Powers were able to overcome and win that match because of there. But Sunny, basically, she showed up. She says it started to be PG, and then as things went along, less and less clothes were involved, and she was the girl that was the most downloaded woman in all of the 90s on America Online. People can debate whether if this was a true stat or not, but I can remember that being a big part of the internet. Was when I first got there. There was Sunny, and basically, if you had a good connection, you could press a button on America Online to download the picture, and about a minute and a half later, there would be this picture of Sunny washing a car or something like that. But Vince basically, got her to do just about anything on the show that he would be able to get away with standards and practices, from Sunny, fucking Elmo, to, rubbing up on Santa Claus, Sunny did everything, and she was a big part of the tag team division, basically where she started out with the Body Donnas. From there, she moved over to the Smoking Guns, to the Godwins. Every time she made the jump, she brought the tag championships with her to make sure she always had the tag championships. That was her goal, to always have the gold in her life, and no matter who she had to throw under the bus, she was going to get it. From out of there, they started talking about Medusa. Medusa was a big-time, wrestler in WCW that made the jump to become Alundra Blaze for the WWF, and Vince was promising her that she would be a part of Monday Night Raw and be able to show ladies wrestling, on prime time and be a part of it. The only problem was there really was no women's division. It was just Alundra Blaze as the women's champion, and Vince would bring in one girl for her to feud with for 4 to 8 months, and then throw her out and bring another person in, and there was just really nothing really going on. You just kept on seeing the Alundra Blaze wrestle the same girl over and over, if it was on a week-in or week-out basis or on the pay-per-view. It was a match that nobody really cared about. She finally left WWF, seeing that there was no greener pasture there, going back to WCW, and when she went, they never happened to take the championship on her, and she showed up on Monday Nitro. Everybody knows about her throwing the women's championship in the trash, but honestly, at that point, I don't think anybody really cared. I remember as I was a viewer, if, the women's match came on Raw, I was flipping the channel to see what was going on Nitro, and the same thing is, when Nitro brought Alundra Blaze over and they wanted to spotlight her by putting her in a match, I was going to change over to Monday Night Raw anyways, but I don't even really remember Medusa being a big part of Monday Nitro, having very few matches, her wrestling on the Saturday night or Sunday night shows, putting her on those spots. She never really got the primetime action that she was looking for. Once they actually cashed in on her looks and she became a part of Team Madness, she became a sort of a wrestler, following the footsteps of Chyna in like 99 and 2000. Of course, she was a part of the horrible WCW World Heavyweight Championship tournament in the first round, getting eliminated not once, but no, she won in the second round because she beat Evan Courageous when she got the second chance by smothering Evan Courageous in her boobs, and then she was able to put him down on the mat and pin him 1, 2, 3. But I think she got beat in the next round, if I'm not 100% sure. But from there, it birthed into Sable. Sable was the valet of Mark Merrow, the I guess you can say kayfabe real wife of him, and Vince just sort of saw her and decided to use her to make Mark Merrow a little bit more appealing, and basically Mark Merrow got hurt and they had to find a way to keep using Sable because of the fact of how over she was, to the point where they figured out that if they split Mark Merrow and Sable, she would be able to be a bigger part of the show, and she'd be, a more highlighted act on there. Mark Merrow took a pinfall from Sable, which is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people noticed that Mark Merrow's career died. I mean, you can only take a pinfall to a woman so many times. I think when Jericho did it for Chyna, when Chyna won the Intercontinental Championship, and then they had the little spot of them, trading it back and forth, something about that was more right. But when Sable, just a real woman instead of Chyna, bionic man-woman thing. It was a lot different. Sable, of course, was the first, WWE lady to go into Playboy. I can talk about those Playboys for a minute. I've seen them all. Any of them that have been in Playboy, whether if it's Tori, whether if it's Sable, whether if it's Ashley Massaro, the tranny, whether if it's the girl that's over in TNA now. I can't picture her name, but I can see her red hair. any of those girls, no matter how hot they are on WWE TV, Playboy fucked them up somehow to the point where they didn't even look recognizable who they were. Tori Wilson, one of the best looking women there's ever been on the face of this earth, and she doesn't even look like Tori Wilson inside those magazines. It looks like they almost got some sort of a stand-in that looked like her to sort of fit those places. But Tori was in there once on her own and once with Sable. Candice Michelle was in there, all of them. None of them ever looked the same once they were in there. They tried to make the pictures too artsy. Just show us some titties, man. That's all we really wanted to see. But China was a big part of this, and then they talked a lot about the WCW Nitro girls, how basically, Eric Bischoff thought that the ballet, whether it was Miss Elizabeth or Kimberly or any of the other girls that were, I guess you can say, woman coming out there with Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and Chris Benoit, it was sort of played out, and they needed to find something to add a little bit of spice of life to the show. So they sort of started the WCW Nitro girls, which ended up being more like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. But basically, WWF was beating them into their pants because basically they were using sex and violence with these girls, whether if it was Jen Jameson showing up with Val Venus in the hot tub, or if it was, Sable or Sunny ripping their shirt off to be revealed in a bikini, or if it was Sable, taking off the burlap sack to only having painted on hands on top of hers. These Nitro girls were not able to get away with anything because of standards and practices that were involved with WCW at the time, and they just had too much of a horse collar on them. You can remember in the dying days of WCW, of course, Miss Hancock and Tori Wilson were great parts of the show, but they also started to split off a lot of the girls from the Nitro girls, whether if it was Spice or Tigress, joining up with Spice was with Evan Courageous, Tigress was with the Filthy Animals. There's lots of girls that spread themselves all over the show, and they all were horrible. They might have been great dancers, and that was why they got hired, but none of them really had any acting skills that would be involved with wrestling. Spice even sort of did a lesbian angle with Medusa as well. I can remember that, but it just sort of came off the tracks. I've heard the Nitro girls reunited and in some sort of a girls band. I don't know if it works or not, but I guess they do concerts that have to do with autograph signings and come meet the Nitro girls all these years later. I'm glad they're making some money somehow, but I would seriously doubt that anybody's really showing up at these shows unless they're being held like Mickey James style at WrestleCon last year. It's a part of some sort of a wrestling convention and the fans are already there. I just don't see people, wrestling fans, getting together saying we're going to go downtown and see the WCW Nitro girls at some sort of club down there. But this was a fun watch. I honestly really enjoy the Monday Night War, with this being episode 13. I guess there's 7 more to go since they said there was 20 of these. I need to go over and check and see if I missed the WWE rivalries. That would be episode 3 after doing the 2-part Austin versus McMahon and Dusty versus Flair. That was a very good episode. If you haven't checked those out, that's a very good show as well. I've heard some things that the next episode is going to be a split show for Monday Night War, which is going to be talking about Sting and Undertaker. Pretty funny how a lot of these guys have got their own single shows, like Mankind, Jericho, The Rock. I think they did one on Stone Cold Steve Austin already, and Sting, who was a big part of the guy being able to defeat the NWO, and Undertaker, who just seemed to always be around. And as far as I can remember, except for like in 99, 2000 when he got hurt, he was a big part week in and week out, whether if it was him wrestling Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam, or his matches against Bret Hart and his feud with Shawn Michaels at the time that led them into the Attitude Era. It's pretty funny how they would sort of put these two guys together. I know they really have their dark side even now today. WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 28, no, maybe not 28, maybe WrestleMania 29, WrestleMania 30. This was a big match on a lot of people's dream cards to happen at WrestleMania. Lots of talk tonight about basically if Sting would show up and be a part of Survivor Series, or maybe Vince McMahon when the Authority gets stripped of their power on Monday Night Raw, when the Authority loses at Survivor Series. Maybe Sting would come in as the GM. Not really a move that I'd be looking forward to, but I mean, it's sort of something that a lot of people have been seeing, happening in WWE all these years later. So we'll have to see how that next week's episode is, and until then, we'll see you down the road. Peace out, everybody.